Hi everyone, a very, very warm welcome back to Symbiosis 5 Weekend Meet the Artist sessions. Right now we have Maria Trott, who will share with us her Symbiosis journey. Maria, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Judith. Thank you, Dorothy. I will share now, hopefully. Oopsie, oopsie. I'm getting there, kids. Okay, can we see that?
Yes, we can. Looks good.
Right, I'll just minimize so I can see it. Right. Okay, well, this is my introductory page, and this is a watercolor I did some years back. It's called On the Forest Floor, and that's my theme for my work with Marina, with Symbiosis, is the forest that's around me. So thank you for sharing your knowledge. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Dorothy, Marina, the fellow mentees, Anna, Merle, Shizuka, and Judith, and the website technician in hiding, Nicole. I never see her. And everyone that has been involved in the long hours to produce this amazing event. To the mentors, the knowledge and the time that you have given to nurture this community of calligraphers and artists is a rare and generous feat in this day and age. It will always be remembered as a highlight in my life. A big thank you to my neighbour and good friend Deborah Littler for giving me permission to use her photographs of the wildlife around us. And I would like also to acknowledge the Calligraphy Society of Victoria and the Australian Society of Calligraphers for introducing me to the online workshop and the Art of Letters community. Tony Nolan, my first calligraphy mentor, I wish you were with us today to celebrate this fabulous network of talented people. Your sense of humour and fun was an added bonus to the skill and freedom of the handwritten verse you introduced to your students. I recognise the Dunghutti people, the original custodians of the land where my art place is situated, and the continually spiritual, cultural and physical connection of this land surrounding the Macleay and the Apsley River catchments. I pay respect to your elders, past and present. My family and I live in a forest in the east coast of Australia. We have experienced drought, wild bushfires and floods. The changing light and colours in the bush are the environmental mood swings that can provoke emotions and influence my art practice. The native animals have become part of our lives and linking with some of the day-to-day routines. These are some of the animals. And the project that I'm working not with in my studio, the ongoing project are letters made from the natural things around me. And the bird you see in the painting, this is unfinished by the way, is the pheasant kukul. Now you'll see him on the left. The photograph is on the left. And the sea is the callistemon bush. And you can see the seed pods and the texture in the branches. And on the right, we've got the good old laughing kookaburra. Here's some more animals that frequent us, is the good old koala. And he's prowling through the bush at the moment. At the moment, it's mating season, so he makes a pretty awful grunting noise. And the middle photograph is the wallaby with her little baby. Now, this is a smaller version of the kangaroo. We have grey kangaroos here. And the one on the right is a joey from a kangaroo. So you can see the different shape in the head. But Debbie's really clever at capturing the wildlife. When you go up to see her, she's always got a camera hanging around her neck. She'll be mowing the lawn with a camera around her neck, so she never misses out on anything. There's a brief history. I started my working life as a junior in a retail and advertising art studio in the city of Sydney. Illustrations and wash drawings were done by artists for newspaper and magazine advertising. This is all pre-digital. I'm pretty old. My job was to keep the studio artists supplied with clean water tubs on their desks and anything that was needed. Lunches and making a decent cup of tea was essential, I tell you. I remember walking through the city to get art supplies, masses of Kolinsky sable brushes, many tubes of gouache, and new needles for the airbrushes. Then I moved to a big country town in central New South Wales, where I worked at a regional newspaper as a layout and finished artist. My darkroom skills were called upon in the photography department for printing out photograph orders. I also freelanced small design jobs, logos, illustration, and manual photographic retouching for the local photographer. And then the world embraced the personal computer, and this is where my commercial life changed. It seemed like overnight. The graphics and the print industry changed. The print shop where I worked went from 8 employees to 3, and then was sold and run by 2 people. My skills as a finished artist and darkroom technician was not needed anymore. Now, in the print shop, the small print shop that I worked in in the next town, everyone had a specialised job, but all managed to share duties when needed, from the darkroom making negatives to plate making for the offset printing machines. We served the customers. And then we worked in the bindery, all sharing the labour job of putting together invoice books by hand, duplicate and triplicate, and that was pretty tricky when you lost count. And my other job was screen printing, ribbons, banners and T-shirts, all by hand, finished art. And this is a thing that I carry on from those days. I still can't bring myself to use a ruling pen as a calligraphy nib for writing. It is a ruling pen, and in my eyes, it's a precision instrument for making fine, straight lines. I've just carried that on. I just can't fill it full of ink and write. You can have a chuckle about that one. Where am I now? In my happy place with my family. And this is a caricature of my family. Lots of animals. In my studio, I always carried on and did commission, and I specialised in equine portraiture. And this is my other passion, is I have horses and I ride. I still ride, and I play music. I played in a band for about 20 years, and I play mandolin and sang. And this is one of my portraits. That's a watercolour. And here's a few oils that I've done in the past. I do humans too. So welcome to my forest home. And here's my beautiful pony. Now, as you can see in this photograph, it's very dry. And this was taken during the drought. There was no grass. Then we got the bushfires after that. And then we had COVID, and then we had floods. So it's all very exciting living in the bush. I have a carpet python visit my studio regularly, and she hunts for rodents and comes for shelter in the colder months. I welcome her presence because I don't have a cat, and the snake and her texture body has inspired many pieces of my art. Her underbelly scales are the text, gouache and ink on paper, cut-out assemblage. Text: I feel the music of the forest in rhythmic lines in harmony. I stare like a child in awe. And you can see her scales, that the intertwined shapes and the scales there. And she's just about to lose her, shed her skin. So she's pretty uncomfortable, and she writhes around a bit. And there she is sitting in my waste paper box. But she's sunning herself by the window. She never bothered me. Very big old snake. This work was created in response to a request in Colophon, the magazine of the Australian Society of Calligraphers. Every S is an adventure. One can never be quite sure of how it's going to turn out. So here's the same snake, and she's just lost to shed her skin. And you can see how bright her scales are here, and how the patterns, it's so inspiring. She's in the garden there. She's in, I think she's in a lemon tree. She's got a little flower beside her. But stunning, absolutely stunning. This is another oil piece I did for my forest alphabet. And A is for antechinus. Now, it's a small marsupial mouse. And as you can see by the photograph of her, she hasn't got the classic mouth teeth. She's got canine teeth. She eats insects. And Acacia floribunda, the sallywattle. The text is rendered into the bark of the tree, and the capital A is the foliage, and the lowercase is a seed pod. And you can see the photograph of the seed pods of the sallywattle. Now we start. The Art of Letters, Symbiosis 5, and Maria is mentored by Marina. Here's one of the inspirations for one of the letters that I developed, and it's the warp and weft. And it's based on a textile. It's the inspiration for the woven mat that my husband made 45 years ago, and the environment around me. The text will read, "Nature reveals, magic happens, feeding my soul." And the story with this textile is years ago when we were young, I was doing a spinning and weaving night class after the working day. My husband is a tradesman and was bricklaying at this time of life. He decided to try his hand at something different and be social. So he made a mini loom and became an honorary girl in the spinning and weaving class. This also involved fibre dyeing days, setting up large pots and boiling water with leaves and any other natural pigments to dye our skeins of wool. While waiting for the process to happen, it was a good social gathering in the outdoors with good food, music, and laughter. So this old piece of textile has weathered the years in celebration of our youthful days. The structured form of warp and weft is lacking expression and movement, but is the base of which I start to create more ideas. When I was walking up the driveway, I saw the same shape where the fabric had frayed, and I could relate it back to the fabric, and it was beginning to take a life of its own now. Tracing the threads. The second form of warp and weft was a more organic, relaxed feel of the old worn textile on which it was based. Tracing the threads on the photograph of the chosen textile. Then I began to see little nymphs and fairies in the tassels. So the nymphs and fairies appear and begin to blow away in the storm. The east coast of Australia has been lashed by a cyclone. Now the letters start to weave themselves. They're making their own path. Oops. Oops. Here we go. They're starting to go in a circular shape. And you can see nature reveals, magic happens, feeding my soul. They become coins. And here's the finished piece. So incorporating the weave and the text. My friend Madeleine with her sister tree, she always calls this her sister tree. And the photograph I found was pretty fascinating. I took it with my mobile, and we've got a highlight down the side of the tree that only appeared when I looked at the photographs after. It's a beautiful photograph. It's not edited in any way. And Cyclone Alfred took its toll on this tree on the right with its broken limbs, and it still looks majestic and imposing. And you can see the limbs from the tree that crashed through it still hanging in the top branches. These were variations of ideas and the development of the talking tree. I was beginning to get an idea of making a screen, a room divider, and having 9 different sections, and maybe making a frame. And so I began working on that theme of dividing the image up. And this was the talking tree, which it's all based on. This is my forest alphabet in different weights and directions to accentuate the foliage up in the branches. So this led on to the piece that I have on the exhibit now called Reflections. On the left, this was the mock-up, a collage of scanned images of the talking tree, which I cut up and stuck into different sections to make up the screen. On the right, I have 2 pieces. These are done on canvas. These will be the final work for the larger version of Reflections. And these are segments of Reflections. It's watercolor. Oh, now we come to the exciting bit. I decided to learn, recap on a skill that I half learnt years ago. So it's lino printing. In the last print shop where I worked, we had the letterpress machines. We had the platen flatbed and offset. And we had a proofing press, which when the linotype made the lead slugs, and they put it into the case where they put into the machine, and then we'd have to proof to make sure that all the spelling was right and the compositor had pressed the right keys. So when they decided they weren't going to use the presses anymore, I was very lucky, and I was given the proofing press, which I now is using for the lino printing. much thinking ahead when you're doing lino printing. Exercising the brain. I had a piece of lino that had been sitting in a drawer for, I think, for over 20, 25 years. So I started experimenting with that, pulled out some rusty old tools, and I thought, well, what can I do with this? So it was, rebirthing a lot of old equipment that had been sitting around that I'd hoped to use in the future, and we always hope. Anyway, they came to life. These were a few experimental blocks that I made, and I actually scratched over the top and added a bit of watercolor with nibs just to get the feel of what I could do. And I feel that they've got good movement, these pieces. Now I'm thinking about a work that's relating to my theme. First, I've got to draw the block, which has always got to be in reverse. And then carve the block and conditioning the ink before you roll it onto the block. That was a learning curve. And the temperature and the humidity really affects the way the prints come out. So this was this print. And then I hand lettered over the top to produce the impression of the foliage in the forest and the different densities of the light. So I rendered the forest light using handwritten text over single and 2-color lino prints. Here we go, the lizard. In the forest, we have lizards, and we have a lizard called the goanna, and he's a very good climber. And he's always harassing the birds, trying to steal their eggs. So this was the first impression. I thought, well, my forest alphabet's made out of sticks. How about I construct a lizard out of sticks? And then I thought, well, I'll put my letters together and construct the lizard. And it was a good shape and design to start carving a block. And I kept on with the theme of the lizard for a while. So I'm experimenting with different colors, doing rolling colors onto the block, a few colors at a time, to get their light and dark effect. And there is my text behind the lizard, giving the texture of the bark. Forest music. Beautiful photograph taken by my neighbour, Deborah. The chosen textile for my inspiration for Forest Music Alphabet, a favourite vest. I wore this often when I was playing fun music with my friends, and lots of happy memories from the days past. The forest alphabet. Sticks and branches and leaf shapes from the textile inspired the profiles of these letters. The mandolin was hidden and then revealed itself during the process of discovery. The lines represent the vibrations of the forest sounds and the changing light. When I first started this project, my husband used to poke his head in the studio and just could not understand what I was doing. He says, I can't read that. I can't read that. Anyway, later on, during this whole experiment, he's saying, you've done it to me. And I said, what have I done? He says, I'm starting to see letters in the trees. I'm starting to see letters everywhere. So it rubbed off. Designing the printing block for the forest music. The mandolin, textile, and the forest alphabet are the elements for this calligraphic lino print. I tried to break down the shapes to simplify, and the carving gives way anyway to unwanted elements is always a future option in this process. I can always carve away what I don't want. The pencil rubbing of the lino block to check for clean cuts. I still failed to see a mistake. I missed the letter E. The first run of printing will show this. I recarved the block and then printed a second run. Here we go. It's a lot of effort. It's a day by the time you've inked the block and printed them, and then you get some failures, getting the pressure right. Yes, there's a lot of work in the lino printing, but I enjoy it so much. As I was playing around with the missing letter, I hand painted in the weave of the textile on the left. And I finally decided to simplify the image completely. And I was happy with that. During the time of line of this project, many ideas have stormed through my mind. I'm now happily working with mediums I have wanted to explore for a long time, but have never had the reason or incentive to try. Always staying within my self-imposed safe boundaries and the ways that it was expected of my commissions as an illustrator. Thinking that at my age, I will run out of time to perfect any new techniques. Now working with the mentees of this art calligraphy group and mentors Marina Soria, spurring me on, just go for it. The techniques and tools from my distant past have come into life again, opening a fresh, innovative kind of art for me. So this is my book, using a combination of previous explorations, and it is a culmination of my art theme, the forest in which I live. It is a hybrid, a gateway fold for the cover and a simple valley fold inside. The folded size is 140 mils by 250 mils. 210 gram Art Spectrum draw and wash paper, glued back to back, supported the lino print on the entry page with a cutout. Brandfill oil-based ink for the lino print, and watercolor, gouache, and black rotring ink applied with a brush and nib. I made a prototype out of scanned prints, and now I have to do the real thing with the watercolor. I feel the music of the forest weaving rhythmic lines in harmony. That's the text. I use the empty space to accentuate each image, dissolving and morphing to expose the text. As a whole, the book reveals a sequence that starts with impact. The sun rises, the noise of the morning chorus of the birds, and the other sounds of the forest are powerful and penetrating as the morning light. Then, as the sun climbs higher, the sounds ease into a comparatively gentle rhythm after the rays touch down to the forest floor. And then the day creatures emerge. Each sheet of work is laid into a cardboard box to air and dry slowly. The lino prints take about 3 days before I can safely handle them. This is the second run of the lino prints. After each gluing session, the construction of the book was left overnight under my tree trunk weights, as I have no bookbinding press. It was an assemblage, this book, as I didn't have any paper that was long enough, and where it was an experiment. And so now I know how to construct it again. That'll be more effective. But I was very pleased with the result. That's it. As I ride through the forest beyond the facade of elegant tall trees that is seen by the highway traffic and tourist drives, I am confronted with the reality of suburban existence. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. That was beautiful. Yeah. And I love how your life stories and your art really takes the audience like a walk through the forest of your heart. It's very poetic, it's beautiful. Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah.
Your work is very poetic, definitely.
Yeah. Maybe I can invite Marina to say a few words first before I invite the rest of the mentees.
Well, maybe yes. I would say that her work is very poetic. It's very touching. You really feel her love for the forest. And it started a little bit like constrained to her background as graphic designer and illustrator, as she said. And eventually, I think she got rid of that voice that would always guide her in the same direction and saying what was right and what was wrong, what was she doing right or wrong. And she could literally immerse on the surroundings and create this beautiful. I love the last one in particular, but I love all her pieces. But the reflections and the book, they are so very special. One is the reflections is unbelievably beautiful. It is so serene, so kind of magical, what she was talking about, the magic of the forest and the reflections and the colors. And then the color palette from the last one, from the book, it is so sophisticated and at the same time so touching. Or I don't know, this is what happens with art. You just feel touched by something in particular, and it's not because of how well it is crafted or what is the perfection or the legibility of it. It's just conveys the emotions that are there, that she has been talking about along all this process. She started doing, you saw the little animals with the alphabet, so probably she has a project up there to create a whole alphabet of letters from the little creatures around her. And that could be a beautiful book for children to learn the letters and to learn about animals from Australia and plants. So I think she still has that energy about, well, doing something that could be more open to the whole public, because that is within her. But I love the poetic of her work, definitely, literally loved it. And I know she did struggle. She did struggle because she lacks of a lot of things that we take for granted. You know, the paper, the instruments, the tools, the when you run out of colors and you just have one or two or less, or well, that happened to Picasso, you know, and that's how the blue and the pink series were made. But you need to have a lot of talent to put up with all these limitations and succeed. So for that, kudos, Maria. You did it. You did a great job, and I love your tree at your back. I love it. I love it. I live in definitely. It touches me.
Yay.
Thank you.
Can I
Thank you so
invite
much.
Anna and Shizuka as well to say a few words?
Oh, Maria, you did it. Congratulations. It was very nice. Well, I love about Maria that, first of all, her love for nature is really there. Like you can see it. I mean, she really uh, breathes nature, and she is very observant. Is It's a word that she really likes to pay attention of what she sees and not get, scared. Like if you have a python in your studio, she will just keep painting and doing whatever she's doing. um, but instead, she also pays attention of the skin of the animal and what that inspires, and she make a beautiful painting of a snake, including letters to do the texture and everything. um, but I also like that, as Marina said, she's very creative when she doesn't have the means to do something. Like she didn't have the correct press for her lino printings, so she had to get ideas to see how she was going to print the thing, or the blocks to work as a press. And this is being a creative person. It's like you need to work with whatever you have on in your hand, because otherwise you will be waiting for the paper to come for, I don't know, the other side of the sea. um, but I also like that she plays a lot with legibility, and it's not, when she makes her alphabet, is not necessarily like, like the A that we are very used to see, but she plays with that. So it's like you need to pay attention of what you are looking at. And because you could see some letters, but then you will get interested in what you are seeing. Um, so the one of the reflections, the artwork of the reflections and the lizard for me are of wonderful. I love that. So congratulations, Maria. You did it. We made it, girls. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, Marissa. Finally finished our group.
Yeah. I
Um,
must confess about the materials. During the process, my dog got very sick, and I had a huge vet bill, and I could not afford to buy any more materials.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Susuka.
no, it's okay. I I can feel the beauty of nature from your work, and I can feel your surrounding.
beautiful surrounding from your work. And I thought you spent your life seeing a lot of nature and live with nature. So yeah, very envy you, your surroundings. And I love your work. Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Also, we should talk about the logo.
She has a versatile talent, so yeah.
But it is okay to talk about the parts that we were like, what happened? What am I doing? What is this lady talking about? Or because it does happen that sometimes, well, it's art, you know. So
Yeah.
some people will love it. I keep on telling you, some people will love it, others wouldn't care a thing, and others would hate it. So the courage, it comes from you of being able to show your work no matter what people will say. Because if
Yeah.
you expect people to give you the okay to do whatever you have to do, you're done.
Yep.
But that is what happened with her first project. You can talk about that, Maria. It's not feeling ashamed about that.
No, I'm not ashamed because I showed the slides to my neighbour, the photographer, and she goes, "Oh, I really like that one, Maria."
Yeah, of course.
And I said, "Oh well, I'll get a round canvas and make it into a painting."
Yeah, but also it could be a sign in the forest, a sign to I don't know, how do you call a place where the fauna and the flora is kept? It's like
A
Oh,
sanctuary.
Like a
a sanctuary.
reserve, a
Aquarium.
forest
a
reserve.
sanctuary.
Yeah,
A sanctuary.
yeah.
It could
We
be the
have the
sign of
national park next to us.
Marina, are you referring to the one that looks like a coin?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
definitely.
Okay, yeah. That looks,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah,
get
but Marina, it's
Because
like at some point, I think this applies to Maria and myself. Marina, I remember in one of the meetings when I was trying, I think I was playing with my O and doing that, like that image, and she said like you are very graphic, not like very artistic, but more graphic. And in my brain, I mean, I couldn't notice the difference until she said it, and I was like, oh, now I get it. It's like this is not like more, well, when I say art, it's like in a kind of painting, you know, like with these beautiful backgrounds and everything. It was more graphic. It looks more like a logo, like kind
Yeah.
of those kind of designs. In my brain, I didn't realize the difference until Marina say it, and I was like, oh well, she it's true. I usually go for the graphic without knowing. It's because it's I guess it's the way I am at this point in my life. Maybe later I will evolve. Um, but it's good to know, and also like to realize that and to be able to push forward, because at the beginning she was more graphic, and the coin thing looks like a logo, but then she evolved and she did these other beautiful
yeah,
things. Yeah.
incredible process. Yeah.
And as Marina say, like it, for example, with her snake, I like the snake, but I know if a mom see that painting, she will run away because she doesn't like snakes at all. So it depends of the eye of the person at the end and the taste of the person. And art is very subjective. So we are like in this dangerous situation to get our heart broken if we let if we let if we give too much importance to what other people say, you know. It's like we need to
Oh,
create, it's that's all.
and then I and the little anti-kindness, the cute little mouse, it makes me angry because it comes into my studio and poos everywhere. And then it's a marsupial, and when it has little babies, it carries them on its back, and I find them down the rolls of my paper, and I look down there and there's little eyes looking at me, and then there's lots of little eyes, and there she is, the mother with all the babies on the back.
Well, that's literally living in the forest. You know, you have them around. You have to get used to that. We living in the cities have no idea what you're talking about, but that's great because you could convey it in your story and in your art.
Yeah.
And maybe for me, the great difference is that the more graphic approach leaves less interpretation for the observer, while the artistic side opens up for the observer to add their own experiences, ideas, images, thoughts, whatever. And the technique also makes it more or less graphic. So you started graphic and you ended artistic.
Yeah. That's right.
It's beautiful.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that. You know, for Marina's group, your process started with what moves you. What memories do you have? You know, because you are starting from an emotional center. A lot of people who try to create and they don't know where to start, they will end up, maybe they will start by imitating somebody that they like, or they saw something that they want, an artist they admire, and then they try to produce the form of it. But I think what Marina has done, which is so, you know, is I think it's very successful in all her mentoring groups, is to bring you away from calligraphy, away from art, and into your heart, into your memories, and what makes you unique. You know, so when you start from the emotional center, I think the chance of you developing something that is very personal and expressive, there's a very high chance that you will get there eventually, you know. So Marina, kudos to you. It's just beautiful, you know, to see how each of the mentees have developed and created their own stories in the process. So yeah.
It's very good that you say that, Dorothy, and I completely agree. Marina, it's a great teacher. I mean, she really knows how to guide you. She will let you struggle on your own when she knows you need to struggle, but also when you are about to drown. She will she will take your hand and she will like help you. But it's funny that you say that for all of us. And she didn't say this because she said like everything starts with a piece of fabric. She didn't say at all that the piece of fabric needed to be important for us. It was a piece of fabric that we like. That was all. But we all, because I think I can speak for Meryl in this case as well, that we all choose some fabric that touched our hearts, and we make it very personal. Like all the artwork of the four of us was very personal to us. So I think it make it even more important for us, and we maybe work harder because of this. I don't know, but it is true that it was very personal in different ways, you know. But I really like that as well, and what we managed to create, the four of us.
I completely agree with you, Anna, that you couldn't find any more different pieces of art coming from the same tutor, like our mentor. It was so individual, and I thank you, Marina, because you encouraged us to be just us, and it was beautiful. It's such a beautiful experience. You're the best.
Well, for me, it's a great experience because you are all different. If you were all the same, if we were doing everything in the same way, if we were working on a font and everybody had to do the same kind of writing, I would kill myself. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
teaching that. What I enjoy is being part of your life for some time and getting to know you and knowing your story and knowing your struggles because I've been there in my own experience. So, and I know that there's no way to go through without any suffering at all. I try to uh, I try to protect you as much as I can, but there's the experience is personal. It's something personal. You can't live from somebody else's experiences. So, and I really believe that you will succeed. I have no doubt about that. You need time. That's it.
Mm.
And here in Symbiosis, we do have that time. That is the miracle about Symbiosis. You have a long time to work through the different ups and downs of the process, and this is a safe place always, and everybody's so lovely and nice, and Dorothy is unbelievably generous, and I can't say how many things about her.
Mm.
And so that's why everybody's going to succeed. There's no way you won't.
But it's only the beginning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of course, that is something we have to talk about later on because we found out that many people have gone through this process and have done great work, but then they stop. When it's done, they give up, and we don't know. We have to think about what are we doing wrong because some people will not keep on going. It's not enough the strength we have given them, or it's not enough the preparation, or it's not enough the self-confidence to keep on going, or life gets in the way and probably art was not their real passion. I don't know, but we have to do a thinking about that
Yeah.
eventually.
I think it's a mix of things,
Yeah, of course.
like in sometimes when you're a student and you need to go about your own, it's like when you graduate for something. It's a bit scary, not have the possibility of somebody to guide you. So that can be scary as well. But I think which I have found is that most of us we need to feel secure about our work, to be more confident, not secure, to be confident, and to have the courage to put the work out in the world. Because if you think about it, a lot of people, for example, in my case, I can do a lot of things, but I don't show them. So people doesn't know that you keep going. And if you finish a project, you keep going, but it's just because you don't show anything because you are afraid of people saying like, well, I don't like this, or well, so it's a vulnerable thing. But I just wanted to say something about Marina as well that I forgot, and that she doesn't know the, I mean, of course she does, but when you in the creative side, she doesn't know the word no. I mean, she would let you do whatever. You are a free will and you can do whatever, and she will encourage you to keep trying things. And if you say like, I have this idea, and she will say like, well, go for it. And then of course she will, when you have the results, she will be very critic about your work and say like, I think this work, I don't think this work, which I think is very good, but she don't stop you. She loves to people to come with new ideas and things, and create things, and she likes to people have a good time, I think. So that's why she's like, okay, keep going, keep trying. It's how it works. And I think that's very nice. And coming back to the other subject, maybe, I don't know, at some point we should do a meeting with students and have a talk about what we were saying, because I do think it's important to 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 talk
I
about it, and
yeah,
and
I
to
was
see how everybody is doing as well.
Yeah. Well, you had an intention, Dorothy, of gathering all mentees from all different seasons. What I do is taking advantage of this moment when they feel powerful because they have produced good works. I challenge them to participate in Letter Arts Review Annual.
Yeah.
Because you have to be there. That is the biggest window of calligraphy in the world right now. And if we keep on posting works and the word, the art of letters, keeps on popping up because they ask you, well, what is the statement about this work or whatever. If we keep on talking about the art of letters, the art of letters will have a different path, let's say, a very big highway, literally. But we have to be there. For that, you have to post your work. You have to have the strength to be able to understand that what you have done along 9 months is a very serious work. It's well done. It has the approval of all this big team. So, and even if you're rejected, it doesn't matter. It took me 7 years to be accepted at Letter Arts Review. Eventually, they made an article with 12 pages about my work. But in the beginning, it took me 7 rejections. So I thought, so that's why I literally challenge you, but the word is not challenge, it's not suggest, it's ask you
Encourage.
to encourage. That's the word, encourage. I encourage you to submit your works to Letter Arts Review. The closing will be on December 15th. So you all have time, you all have already produced the work, you have edited, you took wonderful pictures, you have all the data, you have the statement, you have everything. You just have to sign in on the call for entry. And that would be good not only for you, but for the project, for Symbiosis.
Yeah.
And I say this not only for my team, I say it for the whole group of mentors and mentees, because imagine a whole issue from Letter Arts Review about mentees of Symbiosis project. It could be great. It could be a wonderful article, wonderful. So for that, we all have to collaborate. And you have done the good work. And that's only the beginning. When your work starts to be out there, you start getting commissions. And then they start asking you, would you like to teach us how to do this or how to do that? And you start on online courses. And then you go and they ask you to go wherever you are, because in your country there are people that are interested in what you're doing, and you're doing something that it's only yours. There is no other person that can teach that, and that is what is important. I'm not a good calligrapher. I'm not at all a good calligrapher. I don't do perfect letters. Actually, I hate perfect letters, but for perfect letters we have fonts. We have somebody that took a lifetime just wondering what is the spacing between one letter and the next. Why should I try to compare myself with that person? It makes no sense for me. On the other hand, making something that is only mine, and it's only once Brody said to me, Marina, there's nothing new under the sun. It's only the way in which you combine the experiences that makes them yours. And I stayed with that for the rest of my life. And the combination, that's why whenever I give a lecture, what I show is the thread, how you combine things that make no sense whatsoever, and eventually they come to something. So that's Maria's path, and that's Anna's, and that's Shizuka's and Malay's as well. So sorry, I did all the philosophy.
No.
It's good. It's good. It's an important topic that we need to talk about. I do have some thoughts about, bringing alumni mentees back together and getting them to produce works and so on. We'll discuss more of that another time. Maybe I stop the recording here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maria. That was a great presentation. Good job.
Yay,
Thank
Congrats.
you.
Well done.
Yay.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Actually, I also